your CEO, your Chief Encouragement Officer. And tonight, over the next 28 to 30 minutes, we're going to spend some time. And what we're going to do is we're going to chat about the 5 secrets of great communication. You can reach me at 916-708-8103. And this is what I want us to know. This is what I want us to think about. See, if you're just talking to be heard, that's just gibberish. Yet, real powerful communication is about collaboration. It's about creating a situation to where we collaborate for change. There's really only one way to do that, and that is to have the formula, to have the mathematics of communication established. And so, what I would like to do is describe a couple of things to you and see if you can buy into this and commit this to your way of looking at things. Let me tell you a true story. Let me tell you something that just happened. My grandson, my number 1 VP, and he's the number 1 VP because he's the first one. He's the firstborn. Not that he's better than the other 5. He's just the firstborn. That's why he's VP number 1. He came home from church last Sunday, and he was contemplating something that he didn't say to his parents. And then he suggested to them as he came outside that he was going to give his bag of change. He had a big Ziploc bag of change that he had been saving for quite a long time. He took $1 out and he said to his mother, "I'm going to give this to the children in Africa so that they can have bunk beds." She said, "Really?" and called me up. And I asked him, what made him want to do that? And he told me this story, that this morning, last Sunday at church, his pastor, Pastor Joy, was talking about their endeavor as a congregation to build an orphanage in Africa. And turns out that the little kids did not have bunk beds and they needed bunk beds. And Rudy began to think about the bunk bed that he and his brother Ezekiel, Dr. E, the dinosaur's doctor, has in their bedroom that I built for them. And so he put together his change, all except for $1. And he decided he was going to give it. See, something happened in his soul as his pastor was communicating this vision. This is what happened. Rudy saw in his mind's eye those children. He heard in his ears, in his mind's ears, the cry of those children. And in his heart, he felt their need. And so he had that bag of change and needed to do something about it. And so his pastor communicated, and the mathematics of collaboration went to happen. Because here's what's got to happen. To be able to communicate towards collaboration, there are several things that's got to take place. Number 1, the speaker has got to have some level of conviction or passion about that which they're speaking about. The second thing is they got to show some courage. And the third thing is they've got to show that they want to connect. And see, that conviction and that courage to go out into the unknown creates connection with those that also get to see these things. And then there's collaboration happening. And so grandson Rudy, VP number 1, is now collaborating with his church to build bunk beds in Africa for those orphan children. Now, what are the 5 secrets that were deployed that morning? What were the 5 secrets? I believe there's 5 that when we communicate with courage, conviction, connection happens, and that equals collaboration. And when we collaborate, big things happen. You see, if you're having to do it all by yourself, if you're having to do everything that you do all on your own, then that's really not collaboration. And that's not very big things. One writer said, if you think you're a leader and no one's following you, you're just on a long walk. So let's dig in these next few moments. Let's dig in and let's look at these secrets. Secret number one. And as we finish, I want to tell you what Rudy did for me. He didn't even know this was going to happen, but because he was inspired through the courage and the conviction of his communicating pastor, he collaborated, and then he told me the story. And something happened to me too. I'll tell you about it in just a second. Secret number one: speak in the language of the listeners. Here's what I mean. All of us are a mix of three communication modalities. We all have a little bit of visual, we all have a little bit of auditory, and we all have a little bit of kinesthetic. Let me describe these to you. See, visual people judge and evaluate the world more by what they see than what they hear and what they feel. It's very important for them to see things, and then they evaluate and make choices based on that. About 38% of the world are primarily visual people. And then there's the next group that's auditory. And this auditory group, they lean in and they listen. They often will turn their head so they can hear you. And there's about a third of the world are in fact auditory. They judge, and their primary modality is auditory. And then the second third, about a third, is feeling centered, which is called kinesthetic. Kinesthetic. That day, though I was not there, something happened in the heart of Rudy. He saw those children in his inner eyes. He heard their cries. He heard and felt their discomfort. You see, what happened is the vision that the pastor and the congregation had was communicated, and inside of my grandson, he saw it, he heard it, and he felt it, and connection and collaboration began to happen. See, the first secret is learning to speak in the language of the soul of those ones that we are speaking with. Here's what happens. It's sort of like if you drop a big log or a big rock in a lake. The ripple effect will go all the way to the shore, and the shore, which did nothing, will feel the effect of what happened. When you and I speak in the language of the soul of those ones that are listening to us, it creates a ripple effect inside the soul of those that are listening to us. And so they see, they hear, and they feel, and then the possibility of connection happens. Now, here's really important. You must speak with courage. You must speak with conviction for the possibility of connection to happen. If those three things do not happen, collaboration will not occur. So when you speak with conviction, with courage, to make connection happen. Once connection happens, the possibility of collaboration happens. And then secret number one, as I said, is simply this, is to speak in the language of the listeners. You can't know what everybody's language is. You can't know that when you're up front, when you're in front of an audience. Yet there are some further secrets, which we'll discuss at another time. And so that's why it's important that as you begin to talk about your personal conviction with courage, use terms of sight, of hearing, and of feelings. Use those terms, and you'll have a greater possibility of connection to happen, which leads to collaboration. And all collaboration brings about change. And when change happens, it colors the world a little bit different. It makes the world a little bit better. And the reason it does is because you're changed, you're transformed. Secret number 2, position yourself in a way that you can offer a hand up or hand out of the situation that the listeners are in. See, that's what happened that day. That day, they reached towards the congregation and they compelled them to think about giving a hand to those that are around them to help them up out of a situation. Secret number 3. Secret number 3. And this is one that's violated a lot by speakers. Many speakers, professional speakers, casual speakers, and people who are in conversation with you and I, what we do sometimes is we speak more about ourselves than we do the listener. It's incredibly important that not only do you do secret number 1, which is speak in the language of the listener, secret number 2 is position yourself in such a way that you can offer a hand up and out of the situation that is in front of them. And then number 3, secret number 3 is elevate the listener more than yourself. When you and the listener depart from each other, do they feel big about themselves or do they see a big person walking away? It's very important that if you are going to connect, to produce collaboration, build that bridge, the listeners must feel bigger about themselves than you feel about yourself. Okay? So it's incredibly important that you lean into them and really allow them to see themselves as big and important people. Okay? Number 4. What was number 1? Speak in the language of the listener. Number 2 was position yourself to give them a hand up and out. And then number 3 is elevate them more than yourself. Number 4, align yourself along the journey of the listener. Align yourself as a shoulder to shoulder with them, going in the same direction, and hear them, see them, feel them. Incredibly important. If you're going to be the kind of leader, the kind of person, the kind of influencer that creates collaborative efforts to make change, we must have conviction. You cannot be wishy-washy. You got to have some conviction. Yet that conviction cannot be domineering kind of conviction. It's got to be the kind of conviction that says, come along, let's go together. And the best way to get to go along together is to walk with them for a space of time. Feel their walk, see their walk, hear their walk. It's very important that we align ourselves with their journey, figure out where they're at. This Sunday, when Rudy carries that bag in, one of the things that's going to happen, there will be other people in that congregation that give more money. There's no doubt. There will be other people that give more money. Yet, once they see his gift, once they hear him say, I'm going to do this, once they feel the weight of that bag, something will happen to Rudy because they will acknowledge him as though his gift is equal to everybody else's gift, because they will get along and align themselves with him, and that alignment will inspire other people to give. Number 5, secret number 5 is really something I love, okay? And that is keep lighting the way. Keep putting light on the way to the collaborative effort. Best way to do that is kiss them often. Everybody likes a good kiss. And even a bad kiss is memorable. Kissing is a good thing. And what I mean by that is kiss them often. Keep it strategically simple. 4 little things. Keep it strategically simple. And when you do that and kiss often, keep saying it in simple terms, because when it's simple, when it's short, sweet, and hard to beat, it's got feet and it becomes sticky and it sticks to them. Now, listen, Rudy is going to be 8 years old in a couple of days. And what his pastor said about those bunk beds stuck with him so good that he came home, went to his room, looked at his bunk beds, and came out with his bag of change, all of it less $1. Now, let me show you the result of what he did. His mom, my daughter, was very excited about what her son was doing, what my grandson was doing. She called me up. And as Rudy began to tell me this, I asked him how much money was in that bag. He said, I think there's like $100. There might be $500 in here. And because to him, it was a lot. He was giving it all. Every bit of it he was going to give except for $1. And so as he told me, water began to form in my eyes. And I said to him, Rudy, I'm going to give you $20 to go along with that. Because between his mother and I, we guessed there might be $20 of change in there. And so I Venmo'd her $20 for her to put in that bag. And so when he goes to church this Sunday, not only is he carrying his, he connected with me. He spoke to me with conviction and courage about that bag of money. And he connected to my heart. He connected to my mind's eye, to my mind's ear, and to my heart. And I was compelled to collaborate with him and his church to give some money for those children to be able to sleep on beds. Now, why am I telling you these things? Because you have something inside of you that you would like to share with the world, that you want to make a better world. And the way to do that is to gain some conviction, gain some wherewithal about it, and get some courage to say it. Now, as you get this conviction and as you get this courage, make sure that you say it in a palatable way. It's got to be something that the listener wants to hear. And so when you speak, these 5 secrets will enable you to create a palatable conversation. Do not speak down to them. Have a conversation with them. Some of you might be public speakers, and some of you are afraid of speaking publicly. The truth is, all of us speak publicly. And the best public speakers are not the ones that speak down to us. They're the ones that have a conversation with us. Even though we may not be able to say something with them, they know we're thinking and connecting with them. And when we leave their presence, we feel bigger and better for the moment. So let's go over it again, and then I'm going to let you go. Okay? 5 secrets. 5 secrets. Number 1, speaking the language of the listener. Number 2, position yourself to be able to give them a helping hand. Number 3, align yourself. Align yourself. Number 3 is elevate, elevate them rather than yourself. And then number 4 is align yourself with them. You are shoulder to shoulder carrying this load together, regardless of how much involved. Their effort, you celebrate all of it. Do not make somebody else bigger because they did more or gave more. Everybody does what they can do. And then finally is keep lighting the way. Keep talking about it. Keep displaying your courage and your confidence and your conviction about what you're talking about. And kiss them often. Keep it strategically simple. Yes, I'm Matt, your CEO, your Chief Encouragement Officer, and you can reach me at 916-708-8103. Thank you for being here tonight.